everybody. Welcome to Arrow on Target. We're your hosts.
You can follow us both on Twitter at JohnWright777 and
Chris Wright 250.
So this week's episode was pretty crazy.
It was.
Pretty epic, man.
This was the best episode of Arrow, I think, since...
Mid-season
finale, yes, with The Flash.
Yeah, I would agree. This one, I feel like a lot of stuff happened. We've been building up a lot. There's a lot of things that had setups. There were some shocker moments.
Yeah.
Like, moments that I didn't expect. Like, for example, whenever Rochef was, the bad guy. Like, you called it earlier this episode, but, up until this point, I don't think... Yeah. We haven't seen enough of her to, actually determine whether or not she's going to be good or bad for Oliver.
Correct. Well, and they even introduced her as a love interest for Oliver. And
oh my gosh!
I was not expecting what just happened.
Just blew... I mean,
this is the thing, okay? If you are ever the leader of a multinational corporation, and someone says, please make me temporary CEO.
Or says, hey, you need to make someone temporary CEO.
Yes.
Don't make that person the temporary CEO.
No.
That's exactly what they want.
The temporary CEO before you make them the temporary CEO. Exactly. Something that barks can't overthrow you.
Literally, get a bum off the street and make him the CEO.
Maybe not that, but...
No, I agree. It's I feel like that moment was there was the tension, and she was like, no, you don't want to do that. She literally told him, you don't want to do that.
Right.
Right as soon as he did, and he was like, no, I'm going to do this.
We've been wanting Isabel Rochef to come back.
Yeah, just show up.
And I don't think she's been in it since they went to Russia, has she?
No, not at all.
That was the last one.
Yeah, that was the last one.
And while I appreciate what they've just done with her, they've just made her a villain, and a really strong villain. She comes across great as a villain.
Holy cow. Whenever they're fighting there in the office of Queen Consolidated.
Yeah.
Which is, to a certain extent, I feel like there's gotta be some dude with, camera, across the way in the other buildings,
Yeah, I don't know how none of...
How does that not... the lights are on, it's nighttime, you can see into that building.
Right.
How do you not see them just, beating each other up in there?
Who knows?
Anyway.
But I think that, it would have been better if we had maybe seen some glimpses of this leading up to, or the fact that she just shows up this episode. I wish that she had been in it a couple before this, where we could kind of be lulled more into this didn't seem as much of a stab in the back as
it could have.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so why do you think that was? Do you think that was just that she's got other things going on, the actress has things going on, and
it's probably a combination of she has things going on, and they have to pay her to come on the show whenever they want her in an episode.
That's true, and recently we've been having a lot of people, a lot of guest stars, a lot of heavy hitters on the show, especially with everything that's going on. We have the multiple storylines and things intersecting. We also saw the return of a character that we've been seeing for a while, Brother Blood.
Right. Well, he's still been there, running against Moira, and but he hasn't been Blood, and who knows if that was Blood,
right? And
because he's had his cronies do that before,
right. So who knows, what was actually him, what was other people, that sort of thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, after Oliver, killed the
masked
man,
the skull mask.
Is that what they were calling him?
Yeah, he was the guy in the skull mask.
After he killed him, there was really no reason. I mean, if Blood came out and started doing that stuff again, then Oliver's after him again, So, he needed to lay low for a while. So that made total sense. And honestly, his character development is kind of done at this point. We know who he is and what his motivations are.
Right. And so that changed a little bit, whenever the he's not going to be mayor now.
No. It doesn't look like it.
It looks like Moira is going to be the mayor, and both of her children don't like her. Currently, Oliver and her made up a little bit, just because she was really all sad and things.
It's because we're Americans, man. Whenever solidarity happens anytime that there's a tragedy.
Yeah, and that's I feel like that's the human thing. It's I feel bad for her, or I sympathize with her, or she was strong in the crisis, and so everybody's gonna vote for her now. Obviously.
Right. Well, I'm talking more about Oliver.
Oh yeah.
And so Oliver. She's still his mother.
Yeah.
And whenever something like that happens, they're obviously going to put aside their differences and try to do what's best for the situation, what's best for the family.
Exactly. Agreed. Okay, so what do you think that now, whenever he was and Oliver's not, he has a secret that he's keeping from you. We thought that it was going to just be the Arrow, and we thought the situation was going to be where she's going to know, and what you had proposed, a while back, where you're I really want her to find out. We thought something like that was going to happen.
Right.
But then it didn't, and it was more like, it was the whole, hey, Malcolm is your father situation. And he put that on Oliver, saying that Oliver's known for years or whatever. And so so basically it gets her mad at not only Moira, but at Oliver as well.
Yeah.
Pretty underhanded.
I mean, that was surprising. Like, I was expecting him to tell her, hey, he's the Arrow. But then it also, in the back of my mind, I thought, okay, well, he could tell her that she's Malcolm Merlin's daughter. But then I thought, why? What's the motivation for doing that? Other than, like, I guess now that I think about it, like, I don't know. I guess maybe his motivation right now is just to get as far under Oliver's skin as he can.
Yeah.
And just get him, so alienated by his friends and family.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, let's look back. Let's think, like, is there any chance he has had a hand in Roy turning against him?
Other than the fact that it's like, no, I don't think so.
Because like we've got Roy turning against him.
Oh my gosh.
Tia's turning against him.
Oh my
Rochef
gosh.
turned against him.
Oh my gosh.
His mom he still doesn't trust.
Right. Rightfully so, though.
Right, exactly. The only people on his side are now Diggle and Felicity again, the original team. Oh, no, Sarah.
And Sarah.
Although, what's going to happen, like, I think she'll be mad at him.
Really? Before?
Because it's the Arrow's fault that her dad is in jail now.
Okay. I could see that for sure.
So he's taken out Detective Lance. Detective Lance is not with him.
Oh my gosh.
Laurel's not with him anymore.
Yeah.
Like, he is literally alienating every single relationship that Oliver has.
I think that's the overall goal. I think that the next step is going to be, I mean, and it could potentially be easy to separate Oliver from, like, Felicity, for example.
That's true.
Diggle is the only one that's really
we know that. All you gotta do is be like, oh, Oliver's in love with some other lady, and Felicity will fly off the handle.
Because she does that.
Go cry in a corner.
Yeah, all the time. It's like, I feel like that's the side of her that, like, is that we could play on and get her to go against him.
I don't think that Diggle will
ever
turn against him.
Yeah, never.
Like, there were early on in the first season, there were some, like, a couple times whenever he had problems with the way that Oliver was going about things.
Well, because he was killing folk
That's
left
true.
and right.
Right. Just kind of just, like, thoughtlessly.
Yeah, arbitrarily just murdering everyone.
Yeah. And, but even in this case, I think Diggle would be okay with him killing these people.
Of course. Well, it's like, okay, and so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Whenever he went in after Deathstroke, was he killing those dudes?
It looked like it.
It looked like he was.
I mean, the only way that they would just lie there like that is if they're dead, or, I mean, like, this is the thing.
Or the knockout serum I guess that was poison that Sarah had, because it
was knockout poison, though.
Well, it was knockout for Slade, who is also a superhuman.
That's true.
So,
like, the producers of Arrow have been very intentional in previous episodes showing that he wasn't killing people. So it'd be like a close up of like a rope going around there, like
oh, I'm getting up off the floor. That sort of thing.
Specific things, and they didn't show that here. And so I think he's just ticked off.
He literally just went after it. I mean, that makes sense. And also, that would also require Slade to go out and get another army. Sure. And so that was a good reason for him to go out and get this new army.
What's he going to do with that?
I feel like he's going to attack the city. I feel like that's the thing that he was talking to Brother Blood about, was the fact that he said, I told you that you would be able to march on the city with an army. And it's like, that's now the goal for Brother Blood.
What is Slade's intention, though? Like, Slade had nothing to get... This is what confuses me. As far as we know, Slade has had nothing to do with Oliver's father or the city.
Right.
He now seems to have a vendetta against Starling City and against his father. I'm basing that on what Isabel Rochef told Oliver.
Okay.
So the sins of the father... What did she say? The sins of the father are also the sons?
Well, she said, you know what they say about the sins of the father.
Right.
And whenever he said, why are you doing this? And so basically, I think...
Are those her motivations or are those Slade's motivations?
I think those are her motivations. What I feel like is he's essentially hijacking everyone's, like, the problems that everyone has.
Like, hey, you don't like the Queen family, come join me.
Or in Brother Blood's, like, instance, hey, you don't like just any powerful rich people in Starling City, and so I'm going to give you what you want.
Yeah.
And so he's essentially like, and to a certain extent, he might be lying to these other people to get what he wants, just to destroy Oliver. So I feel like that remains to be seen, like whether or not their goals are actually Slade's goals.
Right.
But definitely, like, they're just serving Slade because they think that he's, got the overall plan.
I guess we did see that with Brother Blood being upset that he wasn't mayor, going to
Yeah.
become mayor, and so like those were his goals, and that's what Slade promised him.
Right.
So this is the other.
And he didn't even know that like it was all about Oliver either, did he?
No. Well, and I loved Isabel Rochef's, like, you didn't tell him. And
Yeah.
She,
Dude, the way she delivers the this like villain.
That's perfect.
Oh shoot, the persona is just amazing on her.
Yeah.
So.
I guess like it remains to be seen what Isabel Rochef's relationship to both Moira and his dad are.
Yeah.
And this is my other question. Like, is she way older than Oliver? Than we think she is?
I think so. I think she is. They're setting her up to be older than Oliver for sure. Because how old is Oliver supposed to be? I mean, what was he? 20-something whenever he went like to the island, and then 5 years later, so he's maybe like 26 at most, or something.
So she's got to be probably at least in her 30s in order for her to have a business relationship with
Moira,
with Oliver's father. Had to be
true.
5 years ago. Plus, like she had to be doing business at that point in time.
Unless he wronged her parents, and so she's just keeping like the whole Batman situation.
Yeah, that's true. Like, that's a good point.
Yeah, yep. I mean, unless this was something like that. But yeah, I think you're right. I think like she's a little bit older than him, and at the very least, she wasn't stuck on an island for 5 years, and so she was able to build some business.
That's true. Like she could have done business with Moira in that time,
right?
But not Oliver's father.
Didn't Moira say something about, if I remember correctly, didn't she say something about, hey, did something happen? And she I feel like she like dug at Rochef and might have mentioned like a sister or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. That was just something that flew by. I know
that Moira like acknowledged that there was a past and some history there, but
it wasn't anything specific.
I don't know. I don't remember.
So it might have been specific, might not have, that sort of thing. I just literally just remembered that. So so there was one thing I wanted to talk about with Moira, and that parallels with like what Oliver was doing, and it was like this epic level of foreshadowing that the writers took care of. And usually we do quotes at the end, but this is a quote where Moira was talking to him, and she says, from the moment your children are born, we worry about what the world might do to them, but we don't stop to think about what we might do to them. And then Oliver, later in the episode, turns around and says, I was so focused on what Slade would do to me that I didn't even think about what I would do to myself. Boom. Amazing. Just amazing. Anyway, I whenever that happened, I was like, wow, that is exactly the same thing that Moira literally just told him, earlier. And he just didn't heed it.
Whether, and Thea being mad at them and saying, like, you're just like her, there's a lot of truth in that. He is a lot like Moira.
Oh, man.
In the like way that he does business, in the way that he deals with relationships, in like
the fact that he's a liar, that he's lying to everyone. Not necessarily that he's like a pathological liar like she is,
right?
But it's that he's lying to everyone and is totally okay with it, and justifies.
And
it
this is the
way.
Difference between like
saying he's protecting them.
This is the difference between Arrow and like Bruce Wayne. Like, whereas Bruce Wayne only really lies to one person. What's her face? Why can't his girlfriend? Why can't I think
Bruce
of her name?
Wayne?
Yes, Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne. His girlfriend?
At least in the movies.
Oh, in the movies. Yes. Okay, so in like the Nolan movies, that's what you're talking about. He only really lies to... I can't remember her name either. Oh, man.
Rachel.
Yes, Rachel. That's right.
Whatever her last name was.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Man, we're not fans at all, apparently.
Yeah, literally.
Anyways, but he only lies to one person. Yeah. Oliver has this elaborate web of lies to his family, to the police, to his business, to everyone he interacts with.
And even to his team members to a certain extent, because he hasn't been totally honest about what happened on the island.
Right. You think about Batman, like Alfred knows, so does Lucius Fox, he knows. Like
Robins know, if you're talking about comics.
Exactly. So like, I don't know. And that's why I've always kind of been pro bringing Thea up to speed and bringing her into this thing.
Well, it's because like, okay, so if you're like potentially like, she was used as leverage this time. She was used to hurt Oliver.
Right.
So if you're putting your family in that type of a situation, don't you think that you should let them know? I'm right there with you, where it's like, if you were putting your family into a potentially dangerous position, don't you think that they should just know it all, and that way knowing is better than not?
Yeah, and that's, like, if it was me, I would tell Thea. I would not tell my mother.
No.
Because
she's crazy.
Yes, exactly. And I still haven't understood why Oliver didn't tell Thea, hey, like, you are Merlin's child.
Yeah.
Like, because the secret's going to come out eventually. Like,
well,
we all
so
know
they
it.
thought, they thought that they had taken care of who all the circle of people that knew. They thought they had like taken them, taken
But
care of them. Or
what
whatever.
motivation does Oliver have to keep this secret?
I don't know, to
Because
protect Thea.
But if he tells her, yeah, she'll be mad, but she'll be mad at Moira and not him, and
Right.
he can help her through it, rather than now she doesn't trust either one of them.
Yeah, that's true.
And she doesn't have Roy. I don't know, like, who is she going to run to?
Okay, so let's talk about Roy for a second.
All right.
Roy just flies off the handle, and he said he had a series of things that he said. He was accusing Oliver of doing all of this stuff.
Yep.
And that's like literally the first time that he's ever said anything that made any sense to me.
Yes, for sure. Like, I think I told you, like, hey, that's the first time I've ever agreed with Roy ever.
It's like everything that comes out of his mouth is usually like just this like emotional, like I'm an angry teen type of a
just
situation.
anger.
Yeah, but it's like this time he was actually making genuine
he
sense.
actually used his brain.
Yeah, exactly. And I love whenever he mentioned to Diggle, he said, I'm not doing, I know you think that the Mirakuru is doing this to me, but this is not that.
Yeah.
And I agree. It literally had some form of logic to it.
Yeah, it was very rational.
Yeah.
And I agreed with a lot of it, like
Yeah.
Oliver, like, and he... What's funny is, like, we will sit here after each show and kind of pick apart the inconsistencies between the characters in the show. He, in the show, picked apart some of the inconsistencies.
It's really nice to see somebody, like, have that much of a, like, wait a second, guys. You mean this is going on?
Yeah.
Well,
like, he still said, don't leave Thea alone.
Yeah.
Then he said, leave Thea alone.
Yeah.
And that's, that contributed to her getting picked up by Slade.
Right. And he said, why would we hand him over to the police? That was another good question. He's like, don't you think that, you're a worldwide assassin, you're a special forces member, I've got the Mirakuru in me, don't you think we could have beat something out of this guy?
Yeah, that was the best point that he made.
Yeah.
I was like, he said that, I'm like, that makes perfect sense.
And honestly, it's like that, I mean, you might be right that Sarah could be mad at him because that initially, like, that led to Lance being, I mean, he's going to have charges brought against him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's arrested in jail right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Gosh. Who knows and this is the other thing he said.
Things are
Did
crumbling.
you believe Detective Lance when he said, I don't know who the vigilante is?
Okay, so here's my thing, and I think we've talked about this before, like, not on the podcast necessarily, but we think that it's kind of the same way as Gordon was in the Nolan films.
Right.
Where you feel like, yeah, he knows, but he
Right.
doesn't want to know, so he doesn't know. I don't think he was lying necessarily, but I think he's lying to himself as well. If he
he has suspicions, but he doesn't admit it to himself.
Right, but he doesn't even want to know.
So will he maybe try to think through who it could be now that he's going to jail?
I think it literally would just depend on the situation, because I mean, he's gonna try to protect his daughter as well.
Does Laurel go tell Sarah, or no?
Oh gosh.
Well, Laurel doesn't even know Sarah is Sarah. Like,
Right.
she doesn't know she's the canary.
She doesn't know she's the canary. Yeah.
So does Laurel go tell, like, her father
Oh my goodness.
in jail? Hey.
Yeah, I feel like you talk about it.
Oliver.
I feel like if you were her, you would talk to him about it.
Maybe she would fear for Sarah's life and go tell Sarah.
See, I feel like to a certain
Sarah already
extent,
knows what doesn't matter.
Right, but
she's dating Oliver.
Dating Oliver, you're right. I feel like she's gonna tell them both. But here's what I think is gonna happen with Lance. She's gonna tell Lance.
Detective Lance.
Yeah, Detective Lance. Sorry, Detective Lance, and he's going to want to protect Sarah because she's so into that whole Arrow situation.
He could try, but like,
and
he
so
knows
he's
who
not
she
gonna.
is.
She's gonna.
He already knows that she's working with the Arrow.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if she's dating him now.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like with him, he's going to be torn between protecting himself and getting himself out of jail and protecting his daughter, Sarah. I think he's going to protect Sarah. And so I think that's going to create some tension between Laurel and him because she knows. She knows, and she says, hey, Dad, here's your get out of free jail card. Like, your get out of jail free card.
Yes, get out of your free jail card.
Get out of your free jail. It's free jail. Rather than the expensive jails around the block.
Right.
But it's like, this is your get out of jail free card, and he's not going to use it because he's going to be protecting Sarah, and because Laurel doesn't know who Sarah is, she's going to have a conflict with him. I feel like there's lots of drama that could happen in that situation.
Here's another big question that I have.
Okay.
Where in the world is Roy going?
He hopped in his red car and sped out of town.
Is he going to get the Flash?
I feel like this would be a good time to bring that back in because we also referenced him this time where she said the last time I told somebody he got struck by lightning.
Who said that?
Felicity said that this episode. Whenever Roy said, "Why can't I just tell her? I just don't see the point in not telling her." She said, "The last time I told somebody, they got struck by lightning."
Yeah.
So I feel like we've referenced him this time, and Roy just drove out of town. So I feel like this could be the time where they were trying to, like, where the backdoor pilot.
They're going to bring him back in,
right? But I'm not sure that that's going to happen anymore because they're going to give him his own pilot. So
right.
I mean, I don't know if he's going to wake up from this coma or not.
Would they have changed
the structure of this show?
If they had already written out like what they wanted to happen for this season of Arrow, would they have changed that so that they could do an official pilot for Flash? I feel like they might bring him back in.
I feel like they might bring him back in too.
Especially now we've seen images of him in his Flash suit.
In the suit. Yeah, for sure. I feel like also like we could see more of like Central City or see like the world beyond Starling City, because we really haven't experienced much of that other than a couple of shots back in Central City, which actually looked awesome, looked a lot cleaner than Starling. But I feel like we could also see a little bit outside of the world. Like even if he doesn't go get the Flash, he drove out of town for a reason. That wasn't just a
Does he go get Superman?
Dude, Clark Kent shows up. What if it's the Clark Kent from Smallville? Like, what if he goes and gets that guy?
What if it's Dean Cain?
Oh my gosh. What if he goes gets Batman? You know, literally just...
Yes, that'd be awesome.
There could be a plethora of things that he could be doing right now.
Like, or does he go get, like, the Suicide Squad?
But
why wouldn't he just pick up the phone and call the Suicide Squad?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I literally have no idea what he's doing.
What if he goes... to Central City and gives the Flash some Mirakuru
to wake up.
Yes,
to heal him.
Yep.
Ooh, I like this. That's not a bad idea. However, I think that would
he works in a laboratory.
But that would also he does work in a laboratory, and he also has super speed. So I don't know. I mean, it could be anything. But all of these things are options. What does everybody else think in the world?
That's true.
That's a good question.
Let us know.
And
yeah.
Anyway, so is that everything?
I think that's most things.
I'm pretty sure we covered pretty much everything. Yeah, this was a crazy big episode.
It was an awesome episode. I love this.
Man.
This is one of the best episodes.
This is the direction I feel like because we've been heading this direction for so long, this is a great payoff. Right, so it's interesting to see like where the rest of the episodes go. What are there, 5 left? Something like that? 6 maybe? I don't know, 5 or 6 episodes left. Like where do we go from here, guys?
Right.
What's going on? So all right, so to end up, we've got some quotes that we've got whenever Roy was doing the whole Arrow thing, training to be the Arrow sidekick, whatever. He goes, Oliver tells him, "Try again. This time, aim." All right, and then we have, "Do you remember where you put your business suit, or do you keep it in cool glass case too?" Like whenever he was going to the business meeting, and then basically, whenever Slade says, "I'm not the one to hold a grudge," or "I'm not one to hold a grudge," that was a great moment. Slade just delivers lines like amazing.
He has a lot of one-liners.
He has a lot of one-liners, but like he delivers them in such a way as to not be as like they go by, and then a couple seconds later you're like, "Oh, he just said that, didn't he?"
Right.
Like, that's the best way to do it, so it's not like so on the nose, that sort of thing. And then again, I'm gonna reiterate these last two. There was, "From the moment your children are born, we worry about what the world might do to them, but we don't stop to think what we might do to them." And then there was, "I was so focused on what Slade would do to me that I didn't even think about what I would do to myself."
Right.
Awesome.
So we're gonna rate this one. Is this hoods up or hoods down?
Hoods up or hoods down?
Hoods up.
Hoods up for sure.
Emphatic.
What if I was like hoods down?
I'm gonna say double hoods. I would punch you in the face.
You would literally just like
Yes.
Okay.
Teach you a lesson.
I can see. Okay, I would say double hoods up as well.
This
one was like we're just stacking hoods, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my inner hood and then my outer hood. I don't know. That's not even a thing.
Anyway, guys, you can check us out on Facebook and Twitter. That's Stay on Target Pod on Twitter. And then you can always find us online at stayontargetpodcast.com. This week on the main podcast, we are reviewing Captain America, Winter Soldier.
Yep.
So make sure you guys check out on that. That comes out every Friday. Yep. And then this podcast comes out we broadcast it live to YouTube every week Wednesday after the episode of Arrow.
About 8:15 Central Time. And
then we also put this up, and it is on iTunes and online the following morning, on Thursday morning. And I think that covers it, Chris.
Yeah, if you want to catch us on Twitter, I'm Chris Wright 250.
And John Wright 777.
And that's it for this week. We'll see you next time on
Arrow on Target.